So, the Lego Movie 2, the second part, is a sequel that's kind of expected, for being well, let's turn back the clock here. Let's go back to the Lego Movie from 2014. It was a bit of an odd title. A lot of people were thinking, oh, how do you make just a film out of Legos, make it interesting without just being a lot of product pushing. And thankfully, it was surprising. It said quite a bit about creativity. It had an interesting concept, and it played well for essentially just being like a commercial for all the Lego properties. It did well. It had really good humor to it. It was very knowing, very very telling, very very silly. And now we return, after a few spin-offs like the Lego Batman movie and Lego Ninjago. Now we're on to the Lego Movie 2, where we return to the world of Lego. Now, as you may recall from the last film ended with the Duplos coming to the world of the Legos, which were essentially, because we learned that the Lego world is basically assembled by a father and son, and that, now the younger sister is going to be coming down. She's bringing her Duplo, the smaller aged Lego toys. And so, the Duplos come down, and at first, they look they look kind of cute. They're voiced by little children, but then they discover, oh, they're terrifying monsters. Like we can't have them here. They're horrifying. They're gonna eat up. They're gonna destroy everything. And so all the Lego people flee, and then 5 years later, they're in a post-apocalyptic setting, and the Duplos are still attacking, but now there are more toys outside of just Duplos. There's actually other kind of like building toys, similar Lego creatures. That are coming in the form of aliens, kind of how like the Duplos first came down. And so, the Duplos are essentially kind of attacking the Legos. They don't know quite why they're doing this. All they know is that, now they're in a much different world. They're in a post-apocalyptic Mad Max world, which is perfect for Wildstyle, voiced by Elizabeth Banks once more, because she likes that kind of like dark and hard on edge. And Batman, too, likes it as well, voiced by Will Arnett again. But then you have Chris Pratt playing Emmett, who still thinks everything is awesome. Still thinks, it's post-apocalyptic, we're under attack by Duplos, but, whatever, it's still fine. But then an alien comes and kidnaps most of the main characters, and then it's up to Emmett to go and save them. With the help of I'm trying to remember his name here, Rex Dangervest. This kind of like space outlaw archaeologist, whatever you call him. He's essentially a badass. And they basically team up, and they got to go stop the evil queen. And this is a really dumb name. She's voiced by Tiffany Haddish. Her name is Queen Whatever. Queen Whatever Wannabe, which essentially means Queen whatever I wanna be. And you're gonna notice a lot of like kind of like how they use like the Kraggle in the last film. There's a lot of that here. Like Queen Whatever I Wanna Be is in the Sistar system. Sistar, get it? And basically they have to go there and stop what's going to be called the Mama-acalypse. Yeah, get it? Mama-acalypse. Because if that happens, they're all going to be banished into the portal of Storage. Get it? Get it? It's just like the last film. And that's honestly my biggest problem with this film, is that it's honestly just kind of more of the same, without really adding much. If anything, it's kind of more of the same, except it's taking away from what made the first film interesting. It's pretty much just the same concepts. You still have there's a live action segment going on here. That's in this time now. It's not about the son and the father. Now it's about brother and sister as they grow older and start growing apart. There's a weird time travel aspect that should seem bizarre and out of place, but it honestly isn't that much. And then they still have just kind of more of the same goofy gags, except they're kind of resting on a lot of the goofy gags. There honestly wasn't a lot here that came out of left field and surprised me, and I think that's mostly because after the first Lego movie, it felt like it spent, like it said all the funny jokes that you could make with Lego. And now they're just kind of like resting on kind of like the easier jokes. It still feels true to what the film is being about here, and even when it takes risks, like it tries to do, but it's taking risks, it's trying to do stuff differently, but it's still doing a lot of stuff that you'd expect from like sort of like irreverent animated films with the subversion. Like at one point they have like like a bad end, And it's like, no, wait, it can't end like this. And it's like, no, sure enough, it doesn't end like that. Like I said, it takes away stuff from that. You don't have a lot of the voices that come back here. Will Ferrell is still voicing Lord Business, but he's not in this in the live action segments, which there are a few more than they are in the other film. But you still have a fairly big cast here. You have Jonah Hill, Gal Gadot, Maya Rudolph does a few of the live action segments here, Nick Offerman, Alison Brie. You have quite a big cast here. So I'm not going to say that, it's dwindled off. They found more people to go by here. But ultimately, I can really only praise the film just because, much like the first film, it has a good message. The problem is that it doesn't really have anything new to go along with it. It's more just, a message about, learning to play with your sister and, just this learning to work together and not fear other people that you don't quite understand, which is a good message. But a lot of the humor is just, I think it relies too much on, I don't want to say it relies too much on like the referential humor, because I don't think it does. But when it does make the referential humor, it feels like something you'd see on like a Saturday morning cartoon. You might smile at it, but it's mostly for the kids here. Kids, I think, will still dig the film. It's still got a lot of that goofiness. It's still got some of that, what do they call it? Kind of like the scenes where it's all fluid animation, and then we transition to, dinky little Lego pieces falling all over and stuff like that. I think they kind of exhaust that joke here, and as with like a lot of stuff here. The other thing, too, that I wanted to mention that I really kind of find annoying, and I've been noticing this in a lot of other Lego movies, is that when they have cameos, it's getting to like Simpsons level cameos, where they actually have to point out who is in the film so that it's a cameo. Like at one point, they run into Bruce Willis in the air ducts because they're trying to escape. They're trying to escape like the evil aliens. So they run into Bruce Willis in the air ducts, and they have to say Bruce Willis. Now it's a decent bit with Bruce Willis because it's like, oh, I don't live in the vents. I have a home and family. It's a decent bit, but then they have to say like, oh, Bruce Willis from Die Hard. They don't quite say Die Hard, but they make that point across. I'm surprised they didn't do it for the other characters, like when they brought in Jason Momoa to play Aquaman, Margot Robbie for Harley Quinn. They do it with a few others, like let me see if they have it here. I don't think they did it because I don't think Ruth Bader Ginsburg appears in this, but I don't think she voices herself here. They pointed out some sports all-star at one point out of nowhere, and they just say like, oh, that's right, certain sports celebrity. And it's like, if you have to do that with your celebrity, like I noticed they did this in Ninjago too. It's like, if you have to point out cameos, they're not as interesting, There's still some funny elements here. I did like how probably one of my favorite bits was when Emmett is talking with Rex and he's just like, oh, you don't want to go back to the Matrix. It's like, what's the Matrix? Oh, it's a film that older people watch. And it's like, oh, I'm Back to the Future. And what's Back to the Future? Oh, it's a film that slightly older kids get to watch. These decent bits like that always kept winning me back just a little bit, but really not that much, because most of this is just more the same. And like I said, like it does really double up on like some of the easier gags here. I will say this though, the best element I think of the film by far is the music. There are a lot of great musical numbers here. Even though they have to have one musical number that's just called like, this song is going to get inside your head. I don't know if it quite did, just because those are the only lyrics to that song. But I did really like a song where the Queen tries to tempt Batman to marry her by singing about how much she loves, Superman more than Batman. Kind of cute, kind of clever. But again, like I said, I don't think the music is... There's more musical numbers, which I think are good, but I think they rely too much on this kind of winking humor. There's a lot of winking in this film. To the point I'm just kind of like, okay, yeah, I get the joke. Can you actually make something more clever with this? But it just, I don't know. It feels like it's trying just a little bit hard to be too irreverent, at the same time just sticking to what made the first film great, but just kind of repeating itself. So I can really only kind of praise it for like the positive message, and I think kids will dig it. I'm willing to, kind of step aside and say, okay, this is clearly more for the kids than it is for the adults. Just kind of sad, because as an adult, I kind of dug the first Lego movie. So for the Lego Movie 2, the second part, 2.5 out of 5.